Quick Warriors Rockets NBA Cup preview here for y'all, brought to you by Underdog. You know how when you're at the courts, wherever you run at, and you only have 10 or maybe 8 guys, not everybody shows up that Saturday morning, right? Especially this time of the year where it's the holidays, people are in and out of town, right? And so you start running the same game over and over again. And usually one team's better than the other, right? You win 1, you win 2, maybe 3 games, but eventually it becomes hard to match the hunger and desperateness of the team that keeps losing. And so even though you're the better team, at some point you lose one. You may even lose 2, right? That's just a natural thing in sport. It doesn't even have to be basketball. And you look at this Warriors-Rockets matchup, what is it, 15 in a row? 15 wins in a row? We're going back, are we going back to Harden? Are we going back to kick me out the gym again, boy? It must be, right? We're going on years of this streak from the Warriors. And you combine that with the fact here that I'm not so sure the Warriors are thrilled with the idea of moving on to the NBA Cup championship. Yeah, they're going to get their pockets laced with a little something, of course, right? I say a little something, it's all relative. But, you know, when you consider Steph, Draymond, the vets, Loon, like, do they really want to go to Vegas, do all that media hoopla, right, and play an extra game? You saw what happened with the Pacers and the Lakers last year. They both, it cost them like a month of their season, just psychologically. It's a weird thing. And I had said in the beginning of the year, I don't know if you want to win this cup thing. I think that might become a thing now. Again, incentivizing the players with money and the young guys, I'm sure they would feel a little bit different. And so this Warriors-Rocket matchup feels like it's a tough game. When you consider the win streak, can the Warriors match the desperateness, the hunger of this Rockets team? I don't know. And look, I'm not going to say they're not going to try to win this game. I think they're going to try to win this game because that's who they are. But if they get down, I think they may pack it in early, right? That's kind of my feeling on it. But to me, the biggest storyline in this game is Kuminga versus Tari Eason, right? Where, what was it, a week ago, Kuminga has the breakout game, career high, and both he and Wiggins just destroyed Şengün in drop coverage and in the pick and roll actions, just taking their turns, coming off the wing and turning the corner, right? Well, with Tari Eason back in that lineup, that's where the Rockets go small, right? What do they call it? The Terror Twins, Eason and Thompson, and they start switching everything. And so I think that's what I'm most curious about in this matchup is, what does Kuminga do against this switching everything defense and like-size guys where there's not a glaring hole in the defense to attack? Will the offense have the patience to get the matchup they want, right? That's been a criticism of our offense for years where obviously, stay in the system too long, blah, blah, blah. We all know that, right? But even when you do get these switches, are you willing to call up a second screen and get a second switch to get the actual matchup that you want? Because it's funny, when you watch the NBA night to night sometimes, I know you do this too, right? Where you see a team call up a switch and you're like, is that the switch you want? I'm not sure that was the matchup that you should have taken, right? So do they have the patience to do that? And then can Kuminga attack in the switching window, right? Because usually, and listen, Houston's very good at it. They're a top defense for a reason, so those windows are tight. But advanced offensive players, when there's a switching defense out there, they find the little windows, like Luka is so good at it, right? Where right when there's a little hole when they're switching, when they pass it off right in between the screen and I'm attacking right in that window. And that's what we've seen from Kuminga in this last week is just better timing and patience offensively with the ball. And I think it's obvious it's because he's more comfortable. He knows, okay, it's my turn. I'm not plan C or D. I'm plan A right now. And so he can focus in and attack on time, right? Now, I think another big aspect of this will be Kevon. And we know how well he's been playing. Houston mashes you on the offensive glass. They don't shoot the 3 well. And the symptom of that, or the cause and effect of that, is they mash the offensive glass off long rebounds. So Looney protecting the defensive glass is always huge, right? But even offensively, as good as Looney's been finishing, if they're going to play small with less Şengün out there, another counter to switching defense is that fake DHO, right? Where you come up, here comes the handoff. Oh, I'm keeping it. And that blows up the switch. Maybe you see some more Trace Jackson because of that option. You know Draymond's going to be ready for it. And then the other thing that I would say offensively for them is we've done a good job on Jalen Green, keeping him inefficient, right? And that's still got to be a priority, even though maybe he hasn't had the biggest numbers against us in the matchups. He's still highly capable of a 40 ball. And then Fred VanVleet, I think what you have to understand defensively is he's a big shot maker and taker, right? So when it is a momentum shot, end of the quarter, end of the halves, or they're struggling, they haven't scored in a couple possessions, the defense has to understand Fred's he's gonna let go one of those moon balls, and just understanding when he's looking to attack versus when he's looking to distribute. And so, yeah, man, again, I'm interested in the matchups within the matchups because we know Houston, this is a team that we're going to run into plenty beyond this NBA Cup and maybe in the playoffs. So I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I just think that when you look at the odds of this thing, 15 in a row, it feels like the Rockets are due. And ultimately, I think the Warriors are going to have a hard time matching their hunger, their urgency, and their desperateness in this matchup on their court here. And then again, adding in the fact that do they really want to go to Vegas and play that game? Maybe the competitive juices just take over and that goes out the window. And because there's a little bit of smoke between these two organizations, that it just becomes ultra competitive. But I think I like the Rockets tonight. My underdog picks, again, always use the code Alchemy. I've got Buddy higher than 10.5. We saw him, the lid came off for him against Minnesota. I suspect I like that number. Looney higher than 6.5 rebounds. He'll get that in like a quarter, right? Now, no guarantees. And then Tari Eason, Warriors, come out and play. I imagine he's going to get a lot of minutes to try to defend Kuminga and Wiggins if he's playing on that attack. So I like Eason higher than 10.5. Again, underdog. Use the link in the description, code Alchemy. But yeah, we'll see. I think anytime these two teams play, regardless of the context around it, it's usually a good game, right? So I'll be back tomorrow to break down what does happen. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.